We were talking yesterday, Jessica, about the fact that because there was optimism between the US and China on those trade talks, reports of it being 90% resolved, that gave the markets the boost. And I see today somewhat subdued because investors actually wanted more on these trade talks.
Thanks, Devin. You're exactly right. Some of this optimism around the U.S.-China trade talks have faded a little bit. We saw the S&P 500 index fluctuate between gains and losses today, really hovering near that little change mark for most of the session in this afternoon. We did have the NASDAQ drop from a 6-month high. We had Boeing, though, push up the Dow Jones into the green. Overall, a bit of a mixed session, mixed picture here for U.S. equities trading. The U.S. and China are still having discussions in Washington. We had U.S. President Donald Trump come out and say that the talks are moving ahead very nicely. So that is a bit of optimism for investors there. But overall, that's sort of as far as we've gotten with the commentary out of Washington, with Trump saying that he will be meeting Vice Premier Liu He this afternoon.
Well, we take a look at some of the movers on your markets this evening. Tesla comes up. It's really slumped a bit, tumbling today. And there are issues over demand once again, I hear, Jessica.
Yes, Tesla is a very interesting stock to watch. It's been very volatile lately, tumbling more than 10% today after reported that it had record delivery declines in the first quarter, which really has investors questioning demand for Model 3, essentially. And when Model 3 was first introduced in 2017, we had the tax incentives shrink, and we saw Tesla really having a lot of issues with delivering vehicles to its customers quickly in markets such as Europe and China. So, you know, right now, Tesla's had to face some of those obstacles once again, with CEO Elon Musk trying to increase sales by, in fact, lowering prices and trying to target more markets worldwide. So we'll see what happens with Tesla.
So a couple of months ago, we were talking about the Amazon chief executive officer, Jeff Bezos. And, of course, he split from his wife. We were wondering where the bulk of the assets and the money will go. But I see today reports that he will retain 75% of the stock from the company following their divorce from his wife. So that's probably big news at your end as well.
Absolutely. This is a very interesting divorce here. We have Jeff Bezos' wife, Mackenzie Bezos, who will now be his ex-wife. She is expected to become the world's 4th richest woman after divorce from Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. She's expected to have about a 4% stake in Amazon, valued at about $36 billion after the settlement. The divorce is expected to be finalized in about 90 days there. We have Jeff still expected to remain the world's richest person, with about a 12% Amazon stake valued at more than $100 billion. So quite an interesting divorce case here.
Indeed, Jessica. Before I let you go, we've just heard from Ethiopian investigators over that recent Boeing crash in Ethiopia. They're saying, well, look, what could have happened, but it was certainly not pilot error. And they understand that Boeing, on your side, has released a statement with regard to that investigation. What are they saying?
Absolutely. We have been continuing to follow the Boeing story quite closely here. We had the Ethiopian transport minister come out and say that pilots on this crash 737 MAX did in fact follow proper procedures, and they were just not able to bring that plane out of that nosedive. We also are having Boeing sued by the family of an American for alleged negligence in conjunction with the 737 MAX crash last month that killed 157 people. Now, Boeing has come out and said that it will be upgrading its software systems and offering pilot training, which is quite interesting here. So we will continue to monitor the revelations around Boeing.
Jessica, thanks very much indeed for that update. Jessica Summers there in New York with the latest on the markets.